Well, we're on week 2 of fencing between us and our neighbor. And first step, see if the generator is going to start. Wish us luck.
So like Stephanie said, we're on to weekend number 2 for fencing. Hopefully this is going to go pretty well because I think we've done the real hard job, which is getting the fence posts in. So next job, and we cut them up, but it's the corner braces. So we're going to take this big long drill bit back so we can put in our metal pins, because we're doing like the H style. It seems to work pretty well for us here. But to do that, we need electricity. To have electricity, that's why we need the generator. So this has been 2 years since we've used it. We put some fresh gas in it, and here's hoping that it wants to start.
Moment of truth. Uh-oh.
So it worked. That's not bad, because if anybody's been watching us for a while, you know we don't do well with machinery, but this is one of those little ones that actually works pretty well. So we're gonna let it run for a second, because it hasn't ran for a while, and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna get some fence post braces done. Well, we are back, and we've got all of our little tools and whatnot collected, which is always a bit of a hassle, trying to figure out where you left things, but we've got it all collected and we're back here. I was going to show you sort of what we're doing, because I think we have a video on this. If we do, we'll link it above, but if not, we'll kind of briefly go over what we're doing and I don't know, how it's been working for us as far as these corner braces go. So this is the area we have to put in one of the braces, and I believe they're called H braces. Not something you always see very common in our area, but so far it's been holding up pretty well. And I guess this is a good time to insert a little plug for sustainability, because if you really want to get technical about it, if you have to fence, you'll never truly be sustainable. And the reason why, you can't build this yourself if you're fencing with this kind of material. Potentially if you were doing cedar rail or that kind of thing, but you still likely have wire, and that's still got to come from somewhere. So it is just another example of those levels. The fencing allows us to be a little more sustainable on the livestock side of it, but we're not independent, because we still need, just kind of like solar panels, you can't manufacture those yourself, we can't manufacture the wire ourselves. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're kind of eager to eventually get out of having to use the electric netting too much, because that's also another continuous dependency, right? It works well, but if you're running off of, for those of you who may have a doomsday prepping mentality, I'm just going to call it that because we're going to go with it. But if you have that mentality, electric netting or electric fencing really isn't very sustainable either, because you still need at bare minimum the solar generator, which somebody has to manufacture, or otherwise you're tied into the grid. So just some things to think about before we get into the actual act of making our H braces.
So Chris has got the rod hammered into the post part way, and we've got about 3 inches sticking out, and we've cut that one off. And we also have the other one sticking out on that side, hammered right through, ready to be pushed into this log. And basically, the rest is easy. Famous last words, saying it's going to be easy. There's that. Now, see if I can line this up. Do just a little smidgen more. I think you're good. That's looking good. I don't think it needs to go 4 miles in.
I'm going to go for... That's in.
And that one's in. Now we just need our tensioning wire to keep it from splitting out as we pull this fence, but we'll show you when we get to that point.
And so there's the other end, and like we say, we just leave this little bit. That's as close as I could get the bolt cutters to this rod, and the tension wire will go over top of that and keep it in place. So one is up, and I'll make a note too. All of our fence posts are eastern white cedar, so that is a native plant to the area. It's not necessarily the best worldwide tree to make fence posts out of, but it's certainly one of the best ones in our area to do that. So we have our little tension wire in, and we're doing some twisting. Now this probably won't, we'll probably have to come back once we put the wire on and tighten this up a little bit, just because we've got nothing to keep it in place. But once we get the wire on, we'll sort of use that to help it stay.
Feel it pulling it. And there's one all done. Tension wire is good. It actually stayed wound pretty good. And Chris gave a pretty good yank on those posts and they sure didn't move. So we are set to move to the next one. We're not going to bore you with the details, but we've got 5 more to go.
Well, you can see behind me, we are just finishing up our very last corner brace, which is awesome because this really actually didn't take too much time. It's really more the fiddly bits of all the little tools and extra bits you need to bring back to do the job that took a bit of time collecting. But we're now on to stringing some fence. So that's the biggest job.
And the worst part, rolling out the wire. That's the worst part.
Yes, agree with that. But we're making progress.
Well, first 330-foot roll has been manhandled down to our starting point. Chris says somebody needs to invent something that makes fencing easier.
Well, it'd be nice. And not a tractor, because that still requires me to do it. And in today's day and age,
there should be a robot for
there
this.
should be a robot that does this for us.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're heavy, and all we have is a wheelbarrow to get them back here. So it's a bit
Yep.
of a struggle.
Yep.
1 of 3 is back.
Yep. So we definitely need 2 for sure for this job. As you can see, that's a long stretch of fence there. And we're starting with this long stretch of fence. Well, we are to the wire stretching stage. And as everyone knows, we don't have a tractor. So we are using Doug and Stacy's come along winch method. It's our first time trying this, and to be honest, it's working a treat. Can't really see it too well here because of the trees, but this pulled this quite tight actually. I would almost say as much as we got with the tractor when we were doing it, and far more controlled, to be honest, which I really like. So the only dilemma we have with this is we have to staple to this post and then release it and basically just wrap around that corner post. So you're going to lose a little bit of this tension right here in this section, but that's all right. We live with what we can do. Day 2 of weekend number 2. We're doing this long stretch today, and then we got a half fence to finish up. Let's see if we can do it. Well, rolling out of the wire, like I said yesterday, one of the hardest jobs in my opinion. We're working with 330-foot rolls here, and we don't have a tractor to lift this up and put it on something that it spins. So we're doing the old-fashioned pusheroo, but I'd say we're almost halfway. We figure this is about a 280, 290-foot stretch. So we're getting our workout. Thank goodness we're doing this in the morning because I think it's going to be hot later.
Only that little bit left. All right. Well, the hard job of the day, or the physical job of the day, is done. We have our roll out. You can see all the way down there. So just as a reminder, this fence is in this side of the property anyways, is in a bit from the property line, and
about 15, 16 feet in.
Yeah, on average along the edge here. But you can see the step stakes are still there. We did notice that the neighbor had included a few, or had gone back and done a little bit of repairs, but didn't replace the ones that we'd put in. Anyways, is what it is. We even talked about just leaving them there, because otherwise this fence is probably not going to be built strong enough to keep cows from pushing on it, but it's more than adequate for sheep. Oh, so on that note, as we're sweating out here today, at least there's a breeze, we're going to go down to the other end, get it wired on, and then we're going to come back to tighten.
There's our redneck fence tightening setup. We've got the winch on a chain, strapped to an apple tree. So far it is working, but that is a lot of fence for this to pull. The apple tree's moving. But it's a lot of tedious little steps. I'm now going to go down and check all my ties to make sure nothing is too tight. I think it's fine. To be honest, after stretching the last section yesterday, this method with the winch is so much more controlled than the tractor. I actually love it. I'm so glad that we happened to catch Doug and Stacy's video, which was from years ago. I think it was like 5 years ago or something. It just happened to come up in our feed, and we just happened. This is like what I talk about, where like the world is listening somehow, because we talk about one thing and next thing you know, the answer is delivered. But anyways, this is working great. I feel it's so much more controlled than what we had with the tractor when we used to use it. And the fence doesn't get destroyed in the process. So that is awesome.
Well, we're another weekend, and kind of move here for a second. You can see we're back working on the fence, and it's hot out. And the nice part of it is we are almost done this perimeter of what will eventually become pasture 3. We literally have an 8-foot section to get tightened on. So I'll show you what we've got, and yeah, we're going to get this done. So here's the last stretch of fence. So we kind of left last weekend. This was attached on the far end there, and all we had to do was this end. So we've used the little come along and we've tightened it to that post there, and we just have the last 8-foot section to pull hand tight and wrap, and then this is up. And then that allows us to get the sheep onto all of this, and once they're done eating in the back barnyard, this will probably make them a lot happier. Well, it feels good to have that all done. And the one thing we're going to mention again is this job to get this fence done was on the list, but it wasn't necessarily on the list for this early in the year. So on one side of the fence, it's great to have it done because it solves a lot of problems as far as pasturing sheep for a lot of the summer. Even though it's not completely fenced permanently back there, we can make our electric fence go a lot further. The downside was, because we weren't planning on doing it this time of year, there has been some other things that have suffered because of it. So this is one of those times where, I'm going to say, the outside world exerts influence on you, and you have to make choices, and you really have to have that long-term viewpoint, because there's just a few things that aren't happening in 2023 that we would have really liked to have had happen, i.e. some vegetables and things in the garden that just didn't get planted because we basically ran out of time. So positive and negative all wrapped into one, but it does feel good to have that fence complete. And we'll go on to phase 2, which will be put up a couple strands of the temporary electric so that we have one large pasture that they can run out to for a while.